Welcome back. I am continuing the reading of Prayer to the Motivator. And in the last video, I did not complete chapter 3, so I'm going to do that now. My mother was furious when I came home this morning. She had been worried to pieces and was on the verge of madness. She had called every number she knew. Mrs. P, of course, added to the drama by informing my mother that I had not been in school all day. My poor mother, who then assumed that I was probably already dead or at least starving, called the police. The police, accompanied by a sleepy and miserable Mrs. T, unlocked the door to the library at 3 a.m. this morning and took me home. I explained to my mother that I had been accidentally locked in, which wasn't exactly a lie unless you approach the situation with a cruel mind. She was just relieved that I was all right. But the whole incident had made me realize one thing. The library is a brilliant place to spend the night. It is not an entirely safe place, but a convenient place and an enlightening place if you play your cards right. You don't, of course, read all the books. You couldn't anyway. You read the good ones, that is to say, not the trashy romance books, not the thrillers, and not the comics. I discovered last night that Mrs. T has been up to tricks. She tells us never to eat in the library, but I found empty snack packs stashed away in the drawers of her desk. This means, of course, that she has been stealing a nibble or two during the days when no one is watching. There were crumbs left on the ground and empty bags and boxes in a corner on the floor. Telltale signs of fried chicken and chips, pizza and cookies. Now, Mrs. T has a list on which she scribbles the names of all the students due to be reported to Mrs. P, and she adds you to that list the minute she catches you eating in the library. Tell me what you think of that. The funny thing is that no matter what, Mrs. T always calls us my good little children, even while in the process of adding us to the list. Boys will be boys, she said. Children will fight and tear books, it's the way they are. And then she adds you to the list. So the children like her a lot. She lets them take home some of the comics for keeps. There is a children's section at the library, but I don't go there. That's for small fries. The adult section has the great big volumes, the serious academic stuff, and the encyclopedia. Wait, let me check it in the dictionary. Encyclopedia. There are many encyclopedias, some too heavy to take down by myself. I went to school today, even though I had such an adventurous night. Today being Friday, things were a bit lax. Some teachers didn't turn up for classes. Miguel has an ingrown toenail, so he had to wear his slippers to school. When I came home from school, Godfrey and I went to pick guavas and sweet cups in the backyard. Later on, when my father came home, we all went for a walk by the square. On Friday evenings at the square, the vendors come out with roasted, steamed, and fried fish. Some sell boiled and roasted corn, which they serve in the corn skins, as we call it, the long leaves that enfold the corn. You can suck the corn juice out of the boiled corn through the cob. I have to hurry now because we have to be in bed by 7, no ifs or buts. That doesn't mean to say that you don't lie awake sometimes. If, for example, you're going on an outing tomorrow and you're too excited to sleep, but you must be in the bed. The lying awake part is up to you. Oh, one more thing. I've decided that if I'm going to go on such an important mission as freeing the fish, I should probably fast first. I tried fasting once I managed to get through the whole day. I was strong and hearty. No one suspected that I had gone without food. It looked as if I was going to make it. But when the clock struck 8 p.m., I had to crawl from the bed. I was overcome by such a feeling of hunger and weakness that I had to wake my cousin Sandra, who was with us spending summer holidays, to stay with me in the kitchen while we boiled some dumplings. News of the fasting and the late night dumpling boiling got around to my mother, who is very keen on these things, and it did not come down easy, I can tell you that. The only thing that saved me was that my mother happened to notice that I was too weak to be beaten. Otherwise, I would have been in for it. My mother is a gentle black bird and she'll beat down on you, but she'll beat down on you like a heron. You see the hand coming down on you, you feel the pain even before it gets there. And you really want to run, but there's nowhere else to go, unless you want to swim the 90 miles to Cuba. All right, so that's the end of chapter 3, and I'm going to continue now to chapter 4 of Prayer to the Motivator. Chapter 4. It has piled up again. Mrs. P has struck up a friendship with my mother. Naturally, I'm suspicious. I want to know what she's really up to. It's an age-old strategy. Get to the boy through the mother. I cannot tell my mother to beware of Mrs. P. That will only convince her that I've done something wrong at school, and she'll want to get to the bottom of it right away. Mothers are very alert in these things. My mother has encouraged us to open accounts at the Cooperative Credit Union, which I prefer to call a bank because it gives more prestige to the affair. So every Tuesday afternoon, I go in to lodge $20, being that on Mondays I get paid for the various errands that I run over the weekend. But I never go straight into the bank, for someone might be in the process of holding it up. And there you go, coming in with your hard-earned $20 just when he was about to leave. So I always walk past the bank 2 or 3 times to check out the situation, then another time just to make sure. On the 4th trip, I kind of gently slip in through the door, lodge my money, then hurry out in case the robbers were making ready to attack. So thanks to my mother, I've got $80 to my name, which has to stay there and keep put until it becomes $200, which is how much the lady says she'll sell me the bicycle for. She's putting it aside for me because she likes hardworking boys who save up for things, and she won't sell it to anyone else, even if they come in right now with the live ready cash. That's what the lady said. In a couple of weeks, I'll have my bicycle. I need a bicycle so that I can ride to school and not walk or take the bus like some kind of commoner. I've rounded up a few students to sign a petition for Mrs. P to put a stop to the racketeering that some teachers carry out. They have children paying 20 cents for buns instead of the 15 cents paid at other schools. I drafted the petition on a sheet of paper torn from my notebook. Altogether, 13 of us have signed, albeit I had to bribe 7 of them with marbles. Surprisingly, the Form 3 students, who suffer most from the injustice because their teacher charged them a whopping 25 cents for buns, said they would have no part of the petition. When the petition was brought before the principal, she exclaimed, "Lord, take the case and give me the pillow." That's all she said. As a general rule, I never feel scared about organizing petitions or boycotts. I have the face of an angel, and the teachers never seemed able to suspect that I am the ringleader. But lately, Mrs. P has been giving me the eye that she gives. She says she's onto me and my tricks. But somebody has to do the organizing. Somebody has to round up the petitions. Children have rights too. That's why I ran in the student council elections. I got only a handful of votes. Tory was elected by a landslide. I cannot see how they could have elected Tory, who has no opinion on anything, and overlooked me, who has views on all topical issues. Tilisha started going home on the school bus, so we don't walk home anymore. Then a short time later, her mother chartered a taxi for her. It takes her to school in the mornings and comes for her in the afternoons. I hardly see her now, even at lunchtime. The essay that I wrote for the English teacher has sparked a bit of controversy. She says I didn't write it. Yes, it has my trademark deplorable spelling and irregular grammar, but according to her, I was unable to explain in person the ideas that I expressed so convincingly on paper. The truth is, she approached my paper with the wickedest heart, and she decided from long before that she was out to get me. The English teacher has long been my arch enemy. Our feud goes back almost 2 years. It has been clear to me that she, and to a lesser extent Mrs. P, is weaving her web to bring about my ultimate downfall. What she really meant to say is that I must have discussed the matter with someone else and then written all their views, but she didn't quite say it. She left it hanging. What the English teacher doesn't know, though she should, is that not every idea can be spoken in the same way that it can be written. It is a power you have when people simply cannot understand you. It is the essence of true genius. Mrs. Massop doesn't understand me. The same Mrs. Massop stormed into the room the next day, roaring like a pressure cooker. Almost everyone had failed the English test. I failed it the worst. It was Mrs. Massop who, because of this, conspired with the form teacher, Mrs. Douglas, to have me removed from the back of the class to a desk in the middle of the class. Don't ask me how this transfer is supposed to help my English. I have been removed from the back of the classroom by the window to the exact middle of the room for one reason and one reason only, so I can be watched more keenly. Mrs. Douglas and Mrs. Massop believe that this is a strategic move to prevent me from gazing through the window. But they are wrong. They couldn't have done me a better favor. Every liberator knows that the middle of a thing is the best place for you to be. It is for the very reason that people avoid the front and rear of buses and gather in the middle, where you hardly get any scratches in case of an accident. It is for the same reason that worms congregate in the heart of fruits, where the most nutritious matter is. So the middle of a thing is the best place for you to be. Mrs. Douglas is not completely innocent in this relocation business. She has been carrying her own personal grievance just because of a matter regarding homework. The real truth is that on 2 occasions I did not hand in any homework, but not out of spite. I genuinely forgot. And there was the incident regarding Maxine's lunch. Maxine carries lunch to school every day, and they swarm her because she has one of those mothers who can really pack a lunch kit. All sorts of treats. Plus, she always has an igloo full of fruit juice, a different kind of fruit juice every day, and another igloo full to the brim of fresh, tasty coconut water, and another bottle full of water, just water. Maxine only drinks boiled water. But Maxine is not very keen on food. She only nibbles a bit and then passes the rest to the harbor sharks who sit watching and waiting. Some of the bolder children even have the gall enough to place their orders from the day before and suggest to Maxine what to tell her mother to pack for tomorrow. So one day the sponging and the exploitation really hit one of my nerves, especially as I was in my fighting mood, and I blazed into the group of heartless spongers and lashed out left, right, and center. In my fury, some of them got hit, one of whom was a boy who goes by the name of Patrick Douglas, related by blood to one Mrs. Douglas, the form teacher. So this is another of the grievances. And the price I pay for this act of chivalry is to be uprooted from my beloved window seat. But they do it all the time. Uproot the freedom fighter and pray the war will end. Elizabeth, dear, dear Elizabeth. She wanted me to join in ring games during recess. She seems not to realize that I am 12. Ring games should be banned from school. I mentioned this to Elizabeth and she resorted to calling me names. Spoil sport, screw face, hurry come up. But I can take it. In my defense, I just call her Rumpy Head. You won't get rid of name calling. It is sometimes warranted. When it's time for drill, we are usually asked to file outside and form ourselves into a line along the classroom wall. I don't mind drills because I know my times table back to front and sideways. The math teacher likes me. I believe I'm her favorite. Now brace yourselves for a confession. For the first time in my life, I am truly in love. Not like the puppy love that I had for Talisha, which has rightly faded, but a deep, big time kind of love. I am in love with Dr. Walker. I go to the school clinic quite regularly these days. Because the illnesses won't come of their own accord, I summon them. A mild fever on Wednesday, a nagging gum ache on Friday, a bruise on my left leg Monday morning, a mysterious pain in my lower abdomen on Tuesday, so I have to come back on Thursday to ask her to have another look at it. But the nurse is plotting against me. She's old and doesn't understand that not every fever has a temperature. She hates fevers that won't register on her thermometer, and she hates pains that don't remember where they were the last time she squeezed them 2 days ago. I swear to the nurse that I have lost considerable weight, and so the doctor must check if I am infested with worms or if I have anemia, in which case I will need to be sent to have a blood test done and come back for reassessment on Friday. But I am so laden with guilt that I feel that one day I must break down and confess to Dr. Walker that the only reason I have come to her office is for her to place her hand over my neck and tell me that I have a fever, which I don't, not really. I am laden with guilt because out there in the waiting room there are children who are really sick and in need of treatment. I'll tell you more about Dr. Walker later. It isn't fair to write this account without mentioning Miss Heather. Poor Miss Heather. Every day, she tries to keep the bathrooms at school clean. She is addicted to the smell of disinfectant. She wouldn't last a day without inhaling bleach. I'm sure she sleeps in those long yellow gloves of hers. She never takes them off. The boys especially leave the bathroom in a mess. I don't know what it is with boys. Naturally, if you're going to be there comparing whose urine curves the highest, then you're going to be making a mess in the bathroom. Girls have no such curve to compare. Not that their bathroom is much neater, so I hear. But Miss Heather cleans it up day in, day out. She wipes it, she mops it up, she flushes it down, she bleaches it out, all in her yellow gloves. She's a hero. Heroine. For 2 days, I was absent on account of diarrhea. It's those guavas I love so much. Nothing you can do about diarrhea, my mother explained. You just have to let it work its way out. So for a day and a half, my stomach worked itself out, then finally came to terms with the guava at the end of the second day. On the third day, I was given the go-ahead from my mother to return to school. When I returned, I learned that Evadne had tried to kill herself. This was her third go at it since September. All 3 times, she had tried to jump from the high wall at the back of the school. Miguel said that classes were disrupted for the whole day. The children were excited and chaotic. Evadne hasn't been back to school since. No one knows what's become of her, and it makes no sense trying to get any information out of Mrs. P or Mrs. Douglas. They have some kind of agreement not to say a word, no matter how you hug and kiss them and tell them that they're your favorite. So far, Evadne is the only student I know to attempt suicide, but a good many students have attempted murder. First-degree murder, cold-blooded. Don't tell me that leaving a sharp pencil upright in somebody's chair isn't attempting murder. Don't tell me that stabbing at someone with a long pointed number 2 pencil isn't attempting murder. They do that in Form 1. In Form 2, they stab at you with blue or black fine point pens. When you get to Form 2, you stop using pencils and you start using pens, except for math, in art class, and for drawing diagrams. I suppose that the message in the pencil-pen switch is that they expect you to make less mistakes. But the children solve this dilemma by buying pen erasers. And you hardly write in exercise books. You use folder paper even if you don't have a folder. You either buy your own folder paper or you do like most people and beg some. It's that time of the year now when the rains are with us. Usually by mid-afternoon, we get some showers, sometimes light, sometimes heavy. It makes me wish I had my own umbrella, but no matter. We take plastic bags to school and hold them over our heads while we walk home. When it's raining heavily, we sit in the classroom after dismissal, or we stand under the shed of the bus stop and wait until the rain stops. Some children take their shoes off and splash in the puddles along the sides of the road, and my mother always warns us about ringworms, so Godfrey and I keep our shoes on. Godfrey is in Form 2 also, but we're not in the same class. His form teacher is Miss Baker. It's not cold now, even though it rains, but in December and January, it sometimes gets so cold that we have to wear sweaters at school. In the valley where our house is, fog sometimes forms. Kim is scared of fog. You can't see anything when the fog is very thick. It can last for hours. It was on one of those foggy days that I met Brigadier. We hit it off straight away. He decided he would call me Youngblood. 3 days after we met in the fog, I saw him on the road again. Today's my birthday, Youngblood. What you giving me for my birthday? How old are you today? 20-something. 20 how much? 20 little bit, not sure, but somewhere in that region. So you're not exactly sure how old you are? People have to be sure these days. Then how you even know it's your birthday then? It's either you're giving me the present or not. I didn't have anything to give him, so I promised him something belated. Brigadier lives somewhere near to the square, close to where the library is. The last time I saw him, which was 2 days ago, he showed me his house. I was coming from school and on my way to the library. 4 nights I've allowed myself to be locked into the library. No police were involved. My mother called them, but they refused to come for me. My mother and father came to the library in the wee hours of morning, but I would not come out. I told them through the window that I was fine and that they should go home. Mrs. T, clever as she is, has formed the habit of searching for me high and low each evening before she locks up, being that she has vowed never again to leave her bed at 3 a.m. to open a library that mustn't be open until 9. But she never finds me. It's not even a big library either. So with my parents subdued and Mrs. T in bed and with the police out of the way, I've had 4 nights to rearranging the library. And that's what I did. You see, the library wasn't arranged properly. First, upon entering, you used to find the comics, then the fairy tales, the religious books, the thrillers, the magazines, all that stuff. The science books are all the way at the back, along with the math and history books, the reference books, and the You know which ones I mean, the big ones. To my thinking, the history books should be at the front. History comes first. What would we be without our history? And geography and maths? So somebody had to rearrange the library. It took me 4 long nights. Now the children are confused because they can't find their comics. Mrs. T doesn't yet know what hit her. If she changes it back around, I'll rearrange it again. And I'll do it 50 times over if she's up for the fight. My father sends me every Sunday morning to get the Sunday paper. On weekdays and Saturdays, he gets it himself. My father read the paper to us when we were very small. Now we read it for ourselves. Godfrey and I take turns reading it for Kim. I like the crossword puzzles and the quizzes. When Sandra is here, we make up our own puzzles. Sandra is very good at it. She'll be here in April during the holidays. We'll spend a good deal of time making up puzzles and being beaten by Godfrey at Scrabble. End of chapter 4. Thank you for staying with me, and join me in the next video where we'll continue at chapter 5.